for 806ers, it's November, and after a very long year, it is at last time for support month for the examination portfolio. As per our work schedule published on MyUnisa, I will release a video or a resource every week for the first 3 weeks of November, and then after that, you will still have the opportunity to talk to me for 2 weeks, let's say until about 11 December, when I am likely to go on holiday. Your examination portfolio is due on the 18th of January next year, and I will be available certainly again from the 11th of January. It might be a week earlier, but I'm unsure of my exact dates yet, so let's not bargain on anything before Monday the 11th of January. In that last week before submission, between the 11th and the 18th, the time will be too short to iron out like very important things of content, and you must really only leave that last little bit of time as an emergency backup. Things to sort out in that last week might be Turnitin submission, corrections based on Turnitin results, and very last little questions you have for me. I will be available, but please don't leave your portfolio until that last week. You will just not have enough time. Start working now. Plan to work until the middle of December. Take a break or spend time on your other honors portfolios or examination preparation, and then do the very final tweaks in that first 2 weeks of January. The tutorial for today is about reading for the examination portfolio. But because I talked to you so much about reading for the module already, that I thought I will also spend some time on those first decisions you have to make before you can start working on your research proposal. Those first decisions are thinking about the topic and the field and the concepts, your idea kind of, and then also the organization or organizational setting you are using for your proposal that you will present in the examination portfolio. And then we will cover a little bit of reading. But you know so much about reading for this module already that is the easy part of the examination portfolio. Now, let's start with your idea. It makes sense that before you can write a research proposal, you must know what it is you are going to focus on. Now, you can be inspired by something that happened recently. Like we all lived through COVID and lockdown this year, so you may want to use that as part of your idea. You might have thought a bit about organizational communication when that whole fiasco in September happened with the offensive clicks advertisement that implied that a black person's hair is dry and damaged, while a white person's hair is what is considered normal. You might also remember an outrage on Black Twitter about APSA's slur about black tax, or maybe APSA's Africanacity campaign. You may also think of some recent winners, maybe of innovation prizes or new business ideas that made the news. You might think of social media channels like TikTok or maybe Black Twitter or Instagram influencers. You may already know which organization you are interested in. Maybe it's an NGO that you know, or your local church, or the organization where you work. Many ideas that may relate to organizational communication might come to you via your everyday life and your everyday interactions with the world. But maybe you can't really think of something specific. Or maybe you can think of a specific incident or event or organization, but you don't quite know whether and how this could make for an organizational communication topic. Whether you have an immediate idea or not, a very good place to start is to sift through all the domains or fields of specialization in organizational communication, or then the popular topics or concepts we frequently encounter in the discipline. Now, let's look at some of those together. As we say in Tutorial Letter 101, organizational communication consists of various integrated fields or domains. Now, they are listed there in the examination portfolio task details, but they can include things like corporate communications, public relations, strategic communication, marketing communication, advertising, corporate social responsibility, sustainability communication, management communication, and business communication. Now, do you remember some of these from your undergrad studies? Or maybe from other honors modules? I hope so, because knowing what each field or domain is and deciding which one interests you the most is a very good starting point for getting an idea for your research proposal. If you want to read more on the different fields or domains of practice, you can look at Angelopoulos and Barker. I will move to the next slide, because there it's written. Angelopoulos and Barker's Chapter 1 by Angelopoulos and Thompson. They have the fields we generally use in the Department of Communication Science here at UNISA. Business comms, management comms, organizational comms, corporate comms, public relations, and marketing comms. Then you can read it's quite old, but an article by Shelby. Shelby identifies 4 focus areas: organizational comms, business comms, management comms, and corporate comms. And you can even look at the ICA's website. They are the International Communication Association or organization. I have on the screen, but I think it's association. They are like the world body, international body, and they have organizational communication as a focus area. And in the description of what they see organizational communication as, you will find some of the domains or areas included there. Now also, let's go back one slide. That is a little picture I found online. I can't exactly figure out the exact source of this image, but this is not a bad explication of the different domains. And if you read the information that you can see here, you can already find some inspiration and things that look interesting to you, or look nice, or look familiar, maybe from your other modules or from your undergraduate studies, or maybe it sparks some ideas in your mind. Now, besides these fields or domains of practice, we also understand our discipline or the terrain of our discipline by looking at some concepts or topics that are frequently found in the practice and the study of organizational communication. Now, on the screen you will see a summary, and I have uploaded on my UNISA a more comprehensive table that also gives some details of more specific terms and more specific focus areas within these topics and concept areas. But from this, you can immediately see how vast our discipline is, and that so many different topics can form part of an organizational communication research study. Let's look at some of these quickly. Now, the first thing I have there is workplace communication. Now, these are things like communication and relationships between superiors and subordinates, between higher and lower levels of staff, about working in teams and groups, and participation and collaboration and interactions in group settings and group dynamics in organization. Also, decision-making and problem-solving processes. Then there are aspects of organizational life. Now, the life part here can give you a clue. This is more about the social part. How organizations are part of a person's life, how life in organizations is, and bigger aspects of personal and professional life integrations. So this is about a person's career and joining, leaving, growing, and advancing in organizational settings or in your career. Socialization process of how people join an organization, how they fit in with the other humans in that organization. Also aspects of workplace democracy and debating, consultation and participation things in organizational settings. Then work-life aspects like work-life balance, working from home, the blurring boundaries between work and your personal life, finding meaning and meaningful work, and all aspects that have to do with our lives as humans and then our lives in organizations. Then the next thing could be communication networks. Now, these are patterns of connection and flows of communication in organizational contexts. They can include different connections, like between individuals, between groups, between organizations in an industry, between living and non-living aspects. It could be networks in industries and societies, and how communication happen in these networks. Also included here could be social networking sites and platforms, if you put like a technological spin on it. Then there's communication relationships. Now, this can be relationships between individuals, between organizations and their stakeholders, between organizational groups, like intra-organizational relationships, the relationships between organizations and society at large. So it could be different levels, one-on-one relationships to big relationships between business and society, those type of relationships. Then there's organizational culture and climate. Now, these can be all aspects of organizational culture, all aspects of organizational climate. Also, different perspectives on culture, like some perspectives would say organizational culture, like the idea of dressing a certain way, of speaking a certain way, of acting a certain way, because that is the organization's culture, so to speak. That is like a form of control, social control. Other perspectives see organizational culture almost as a metaphor for the purpose of the organization. And then there are other themes in this category that is like rationality or emotions and values and spirituality and religion and so on in organizational settings. Then we can find topics of communicative management and leadership. Now, these are approaches and styles to leadership and followership, servant leadership, resistance to leadership and to management and to like power structures in organizational contexts. Then, organizational change and uncertainty. These are big topics in organizational communication. How is change and uncertainty communicated? Different types of change, like mergers or downsizing or changes in the organizational environment. How to communicate in uncertain times, organizational uncertainty. That is maybe like in a time of a pandemic, like we saw this year. Then there are also changes that has to do with innovation and transformation and technological developments and so on that disrupt certain aspects of organizational functioning. And those changes and uncertainties are also part of this topic. And then we move to like unplanned changes that can sometimes be called a crisis, how to respond and communicate to stakeholders in times of crisis. Then the next one is communication technology. Now, this has everything to do with whether it's communication technology, like technological channels, like social media, online communication, and so on, or it has to do with other technological advances, like maybe in engineering or maybe in factory type of settings. And how we talk about technology, how we see technology, and how technology influences all types of stakeholder engagement or employee communication or marketing and so on. And also then, of course, the digital communication tools and channels and ICTs. Then we have a lot of topics that cover themes of attitudes, behaviors, emotions, and values. I already spoke of some of these things like spirituality and religion at work, but this is also about things like human values and human emotions like stress and burnout, and the link or non-link between attitudes and behaviors. Also, rationality, what rationality means, and whether rational and reasoning and so on, as we see it in Euro-Western theory, is really the same in African context, for instance. Also, emotions and values as part of the human experience of communication. Then, communicating difference and diversity is next. These are things like differences between people, for instance, different identity markers like race, class, gender, sexuality, and so on, and issues of gender and diversity like women's issues, minority, stereotyping, discrimination, meaning making, despite differences, and also political, economic, and social natures of differences between people, and also communicative aspects about celebrating or suppressing or managing or controlling aspects of difference and diversity in organizational settings. Then we get to a next point, identity, image, and identification. Now, this is about individual identities or group identities, maybe like cultural identity. Then organizational identity and image, that's more like your branding and the image you project to your external stakeholders. Things like corporate identity, corporate image, reputation, those type of topics. Then there's a collection of topics we can group together as power and control topics. They are what control is in organizations, how different cultural experiences, like we say, conceptions of control is culturally specific, meaning that people from different backgrounds experience control in different ways. Some feel, and that's more the Euro-Western feeling, that they are in control, they must be in control, they are in control of their destiny, they must make things happen for themselves, and so on. While many Asia-centric and even Afrocentric thinking is about letting go of control because some things are out of our control. Those type of differences. Then the relationships between power and control in organizations, power relationships in teams and groups, and between a manager and employee and things like that. And also different types of power and different types of control. Then there are topics of purpose and responsibility. Now this can be the purpose of making money, and that is like communication, effectiveness, efficiency, excellence, like functional ideas like that. Strategic communication, communication strategies, communicating about strategy and so on. And then there's the purpose of organizations in terms of its bigger role in society, its bigger responsibility towards society, like sustainability, communications, corporate social investment, and the embeddedness of organizations in society. Then we get to topics of knowledge and learning. Here we hear a lot of the concepts: information society, knowledge management, the knowledge sector with knowledge workers, the learning organization or organizational learning. Each of these things mean something different, but if these aspects of managing knowledge and working with knowledge products interest you, that is the type of topic area for you. Then we get to more general, and these things don't group together that well, but they are more general things. It could be about different styles or forms or channels of communication, like formal and informal communication, verbal, non-verbal, different forms like visual communication, signs and symbols in communication, styles of communication like persuasion and public speaking and so on, channels and media like social media or digital communication channels, face-to-face or telephonic or printed communication, those type of things can group together here. And then organizational communication on different levels and places and directions. So this can be like communication seen from a macro lens or a meso lens or a micro lens, whether the direction of communication, meaning maybe horizontal or vertical or circular or internal or external or bottoms up. And aspects like feedback and dialogue and so on will feature in these type of studies. I have now, you don't see all of these details on the screen. I couldn't make it fit, but I have uploaded on MyUNISA a more detailed version of this table that also includes the things I mentioned now. And you can look through this table to see if something doesn't spark your interest. And you will also remember from your undergrad studies or maybe in your other modules that some of these concepts and topics, they feature repeatedly in the study and the practice of organizational communication. I made this list of some places where you can read a bit more on on topics and concepts in organizational communication. Now, I know it's probably small on your screen, this list, but I also uploaded a screen grab of this slide on my UNISA for you to better see. But these are like chapters or books about the discipline of organizational communication that specifically contain certain aspects of topics and concepts and processes in organizational communication that can inspire you to see what are the variety of things that you can focus your research proposal, examination portfolio on. Alright, now you will also see as we talk through these topics that some of them go easily with a specific field or domain, like some topics are suitable for advertising. Some topics are suitable for public relations. Some topics are more suitable for corporate social responsibility, while others, like maybe channels of media or styles of communication, could be suitable to any. Like you can look at the channels for internal communication, like staff communication, or you can look at channels in marketing, or you can look at channels in public relations. So some of them are flexible and like more applicable to more fields or domains, while some are maybe more directed towards specific domains or areas of practice. Like say for instance, now what you must do is you must find combinations that can work, and they must work logically. Like they must work, and if you are not sure if they work logically, read up about that specific topic or concept or that specific field to see whether they fit together conceptually. Say for instance, you would like to do a study in the field of advertising. Now you can look at advertising media, like social media used in advertising, or you can look at advertising messages, like how different messages are interpreted differently by different people, or could offend different people, or what different messages represent in terms of different personal or cultural identities, like what advertising messages represent in terms of gender, in terms of race, in terms of class. Then you can look at aspects of technology in advertising. So there are so many different options of topics you can have within the advertising field. You can also be interested in a specific topic, like maybe power in organizations. But you can look at the idea of power in interpersonal relationships between maybe staff members in the same department. You can look at power in relationships between people of different race groups in organizational settings. You can look at power as a feature of diversity management. You can look at power in terms of marketing communication. You can look at power in stakeholder engagement processes. Like there are so many different angles and different ways you can put ideas together between the fields and between the different topics and concepts. Another one, you might be interested in a specific phenomenon like Black Twitter or Instagram influencing, but your interest can take so many forms, like maybe Black Twitter as customer feedback, or Black Twitter as stakeholder engagement, or Instagram influencing as an advertising tool, or Instagram influencing as personal branding. So many different options to cover the same interest from an organizational communication perspective, but using different concepts and different angles to approach your interest or your idea from. Now search through the fields and the topics to see where you find those nice ideas. Then read on those specific concepts or topics or field or domain to see whether what you are thinking can work out. Then, of course, the other big thing you must think about before you can actually start writing a research proposal is the organization or the organizational context that you will choose. Now, organizations come in so many different shapes and forms. Like, organizations can be government departments or parastatals, or as they are formally known, state-owned enterprises. They can be large corporates like banking or insurance organizations, mining houses, construction companies. They can be clothing retailers or franchise organizations. Organizations can also be local or national non-profit companies or social enterprises. A school can be an organization, a church can, a shelter can, a newspaper vendor on the corner can, also a spaza shop. All of these could be organizations or at least organizational entities. When you have to think about an organization for your portfolio, you have to remember that what you do should all fit together. Like if you are focusing on a marketing campaign of a specific banking group, then that one idea already decides which organization it will be that you are focusing on. But if you know that you are interested in public relations and you like the idea of public relations in the non-profit sector, you still have to find that non-profit organization or two that will be your focus. It also does not help if you choose social media as a technological communication channel, but you choose a local spaza with absolutely no social media presence. Then the whole thing will flop. So you can think of this in a number of ways. You can use a problematic organization or a problematic industry in terms of your topic. For instance, mining and construction organizations are often in the news about how they treat workers or how they communicate and engage with unions. So if you are interested in relationships between organizations and unions, you may choose mining and construction industry because they are almost like a problem child of union negotiation. Then state-owned enterprises are quite controversial when it comes to issues of governance and societal accountability. So when you choose a topic that has to do with governance or accountability, then choosing a parastatal might not be a bad idea because they are seen as like a problematic type of organization when it comes to these matters. You can also choose an organization that you have a specific understanding of or that you have access to, like your church or the organization where you work. You understand this organization and you will be able to describe it well, and you already know some of the communication practices and maybe even the problems in this organization. So it will make it easier for you to find a topic that can work out as a research project. You can also choose an organization for something specific that they have done or that they are doing. For instance, if Discovery launches a new banking app, then this event of a new product or a new service, that can make it an interesting organization to focus on. Or if Outsurance launches a new marketing campaign, or maybe, like very recently, fire the star of their marketing campaigns, that could be an interesting event or like something that is relevant and current for specific topics. You can, of course, also choose an organization because you like something of them. Maybe you are really into local fashion brands. Then choosing someone like Tsepo Jeans or Manxhosa by Laduma, or a very successful local franchise organization like Nando's, or like So whether it is because you specifically like something or there's a specific issue or problem, remember that the whole thing must just be able to work. That is what we call feasibility. You can't choose an organization, a study that will require you to have in-depth understanding and access to an organization if you have no idea how you are going to approach this organization. There is also no use in choosing a topic and an organization where the topic isn't really something that happens in real life in the organization. Like, you can't do staff communication strategy if internal communication strategy, for instance, in an organization with only 3 employees. There will be no strategy for internal communication because the group is so small. It will happen almost internal communication will happen without any planning or any design to it, for instance. So you must make sure that the things make a sense when you put them together. Now, if you have trouble thinking of an organization, you can use some of the things on the screen, like Proudly South African. I put their website there. They have some member organization that they list that say they are Proudly South African. Then there's a listing of South African non-profit organizations on the NGO Pulse website. And there's also on the Biz Community website, company listings. And then they also link that to communication industry news. So that might give you some ideas. Now, in the last place, let's look at reading for the examination portfolio. Now, reading should be quite easy this time around. Why? Because you should have done all the reading already. The reading on the different paradigmatic positions are part of assignment 1. And you can find some reading in the demarcation document I posted on MyUNISA, as well as on the general assignment feedback document I posted on MyUNISA. You can do the reading. The reading of research problems and methodology was part of assignment 2. So you can find specific reading notes in the general assignment feedback document for assignment 2. Then, also in your task, in your examination portfolio task, you will find specific reading for every section in the research proposal. So, by the time you have all of this together, there's not much reading left to do. If you have done your part, in other words, up until now, you will have copies of the reading or digital versions of the reading, or at least know where and how to access all of these sources. If you have not exactly done what you were supposed to do, then now is the time to actually get started and do that, because you have all the information at your fingertips. Now, I will talk a little bit more about reading in the next tutorial, but I really want you to take control of the reading for this examination portfolio. You have everything you need. So please make sure that you take that responsibility and you make sure you have your sources. And if you don't, if there's something that you can't access or you have a question about, ask those questions now. If you know what, my knees go weak when you contact me on the 15th of January to say you can't access a specific chapter that you feel you need, then I'm like, why did you wait? Why did you wait until 3 days before? If you ask me something like that in the final days, I will still help you. But get that sorted now. Get that stress out of your life. Get that reading figured out now before the big stress for this portfolio starts. Now, okay, that is then it. I will talk to you guys again next week. Next week is the main tutorial for the examination portfolio. And we will take some of these bigger ideas we spoke about today and the initial decisions about topic and organization and so on. And then we will translate those into a problem statement, sub-problems, research questions, and a detailed methodology. And I will also give you some examples. Those examples will look a little bit like the table analysis of your assignment 2, where based on a specific topic, example topic, we will look at how you can formulate a research problem, how sub-problems, how the methodological decisions can maybe work together, almost like recipe examples of examination portfolio frameworks. So I really think that would be worthwhile to access next week's tutorial. Alright, so enjoy your work this week and start getting those sources. Okay, bye.